In ancient Greece, a temple was built to pay tribute to the 9 divine muses of art and science. Today, we call such houses museum. It's where humankind's best heritages are preserved and showcased, but museum going may not be on top of everyone's to-do list. That's due to a whole host of factors, inaccessibility, both physical and intellectual, being one of them. How can museums make themselves friendlier to the general public than they are now? While new technologies are transforming our lives, how can museums be part of the change? And what more can museums do together to bring peace to this turbulent and divided world? Welcome to a very special edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin, coming to you from Beijing. Today's episode is dedicated to the intersection of art, science, history, and the love therein. I'm honored to be joined by Eike Schmidt, who was the director of the Uffizi galleries in Italy, which need no introduction. From Berlin, by Gabriel Montua, director of Museum Berggruen, which houses one of the world's largest collections of Picasso's, Paul Klee's and other masterpieces. From Bangkok, Thailand, by Suppawan Nongnut, curator of the Thai National Museum, the largest national museum in Southeast Asia. And from Shanghai, by Professor Zheng Yi, director of Fudan University Museum and professor of the Department of Cultural Heritage and Museology. The warmest welcome to all of you. I'm a museum lover, but I don't get enough time to visit museums, so this is a special treat for me. And I want to go to Miss Suppawan in Thailand because this part of the world is often overlooked in terms of influence in art and history. And since I haven't been to your esteemed institution, could you please give us an example of your exhibits and what have you been doing to make your museum more interesting and engaging, especially for the young people?
Well, Swadika, I would like to show you something about our museum. The National Museum Bangkok, actually this place, it was the former palace. So in our museum, it's included with the national treasure. So that's why it may be the first location for tourists that when they land to Thailand, the first place that they have to visit is the National Museum Bangkok.
Mm-hmm. Could you give one item that you have on the top of your mind and what you have been doing to make it interesting and engaging for the young museum goers especially?
Actually, we have a lot, but
sure.
The best one that I would like to focus is the inscription. We call the King Ramkhamhaeng's inscription. This one is already registered to the Memory of the World. So it's one of the World Heritage. It's the origin of Thai alphabet. So for the people from around the world who would like to know about Thai language, and for example, like for the Chinese student who interested in Thai language, they would like to learn, they have to see this one. It's the must-see in the museum.
All right, I'll keep it on my mind when I next visit your country. Let me go to Dr. Schmidt. The Uffizi Gallery, as I said, needs no introduction, and I've been there. Very lucky. I have very vivid memory about this place. It's one of the earliest museums in the world to open ever to public in the 17th century. What has the Uffizi done, and what more do you plan to do?
Well, the Uffizi opened to the general public, but a very elite public in the 16th century, so about 500 years ago. But in 1769, that is more than 250 years ago, it was the first important big collection of art that was open to everybody. So you wouldn't need a letter of introduction. You wouldn't need anything. You could just knock on the door and then go in and walk in. And moreover, once a year, all the Florentines of all classes, of all professions, all families were invited to come to see the treasures of the Uffizi Gallery since 1769. And that was always on the 24th of June. And so it is the first museum that is really, the first big museum that was really accessible to everyone. And now we're taking accessibility further. So on the one hand, we make it accessible to people with disabilities and with diverse abilities in order to break down and eliminate any architectural barriers. Also for cognitive and emotional disabilities, we have special hours where groups with particular challenges may come in and visit the collections. That's very important to be really fully inclusive. We are also fully inclusive in terms of the national provenance. We now have visitors from over 100 different countries every single week. So it is a great opportunity to learn about other countries and about other cultures. So we do have our labels, our museum labels, all bilingual in Italian and in English. But of course, with your app on your telephone, you can easily translate from the English into any other given language.
Do you plan to do it in Chinese?
Prefer. Yes, indeed. So also the Chinese visitors prefer to come with a tour guide that speaks Chinese as a mother tongue. So we are also in constant contact with the tour guides in order to inform them and about new research, about new exhibitions, about newly acquired works, so that the tour guides immediately can bring this new knowledge and special initiatives to the visitors. And I very much recommend that if you go into a foreign country and if you have a tour guide from your own country, a very specialized one who is maybe ideally based in Italy, because there you can actually then you have a mediating function for that, because different cultures have different figures, and so it's very important to have a live mediator, not just a computerized one. And then, of course, children and young people.
But out of curiosity, and this is itching for me, what is that installation behind you, Mr. Schmidt? Very quickly, without taking up too much time, please.
This is a contemporary artist. This is the office area, and so this is a work by a contemporary artist who had a show, so we also try to have the office areas artsy.
All right, Mr. Montua, let me get to you. Museums are referred to as universities, I guess, not just in China, but in the other parts of the world. But not every young person wants to go there for all kinds of reasons. What have been your experiences and your efforts, and how is it working out?
We are undergoing a renovation right now, so this is something we want to use, of course, to make it more accessible, more inclusive, with all kinds of technical devices that will enhance visitors' experience, both, as you said, physically, so with ramps and a model for blind people or people who cannot see, some inductive devices that will help people with hearing disabilities to better communicate with staff. So all these kind of really trying to lower the barrier at first, and the same goes, of course, for the content. Our museum was set up by Heinz Berggruen in 1996, and it had stayed more or less. He was already a very old man at the time, and it stayed more or less that way until we closed for renovation very recently. So, of course, this clearly was inspired by 20th century, and now after renovation, we want to bring it into the 21st century, also in terms of giving context material and engaging audiences of a very diverse kind, yes.
Yeah. Let's get back to you in just a moment, but let me move on to Professor Zheng for the Chinese perspective, and of course for an international mindset as well. For the ordinary pals and gals on the streets here in China or anywhere else, why do museum collaborations matter? I mean, there is some kind of threshold. You have to love museum, you have to have some basic understanding normally in order to enjoy a museum. So why do museum collaborations matter for the ordinary people watching us now?
Thank you for the question. I think as for the ordinary people, as for the younger generation, actually they are becoming a very important target audience group for most of the museums in China. because they have different characteristics and they have different needs compared with the traditional audiences, not to mention the experts in the field. So museums, they are working together to meet the needs of these people, and also they are cooperating with each other to tailor-make their cultural products as well as service supply. I think for the younger generation, because they are really loving to go to the museums, and they are becoming a very important group for the museums.
Well, right now a lot is being done across the borders, and Dr. Schmidt, last year the National Museum of China and the Uffizi collaborated on the self-portraits masterpiece from the Uffizi here in China. Then a year before that, the National Museum of China also hosted, not from Uffizi, but Torta Italia, Origins of a Nation exhibit, which is also about the history of Italia. What does it mean for the Uffizi and the people of Italy, even people of Europe, to showcase these works here? What do you gain out of it?
Well, first of all, we're very proud to be able to contribute unique artworks, unique treasures, to show them in Beijing, just as we do it in other places within China and in other countries of the world. For instance, in Shanghai, we also had a number of important exhibitions, and further exhibitions are planned down the road, as well as in Hong Kong. Now we're also talks with Chengdu, but of course, Beijing being the capital of China, that gives us particular pleasure. We also know that, and I've been to the exhibition myself, and I've spent several days in Beijing, and I was able to observe the school groups who come in to look at the taikonauts and then go on to look at the Uffizi treasures, and then also people from all over China, from all over the world, and to see these. This is a real cultural exchange. We're learning about one another. That is really one of the primary public functions that art can have, and of course educational. We learn about new research and we're able to share our knowledge. Sometimes it's the first time that on a particular subject there's a catalog, a publication in Chinese, and that is also very important. So we can learn about one another, and that also helps to communicate.
Yeah. Well, next time if you have a big plan, would you let us know, or let me know in advance? I missed this one. Thank you so much, Mr. Eike Schmidt. I understand you're busy, so I'll let you go. Thank you very much for your participation. And
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and let me go to my guest in Bangkok, Ms. Suppawan. Very much, I'm interested in what kind of plans, or what have you in your part of the world as a museum, as cultural institutions, been doing in terms of international collaboration? Have you brought your treasures here in China or the other way around, and what has been the reaction?
Actually, our museum is just finished off the long-term renovation, and we opened the whole museum again just a few years ago. However, normally in every year, once or twice a year, that our museum, not only the National Museum Bangkok, but the museums that under the Fine Arts Department, Ministry of Culture, we try to make the cooperation with the museums around the world. For example, we just had the exhibition. It's called the Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China.
Yeah.
At the National Museum Bangkok. I think it's in the 2021. That year, it's just a crowded people in front of the gate of the museum. It's not only Thai people, but Chinese as well. So I asked some question with them. They said that this is easier to reach their treasure outside the country.
It's easier because you have brought a foreign museum to the doorsteps of the locals. Is that what you're saying? So,
yeah, right.
So we need to do more cross-cultural, cross-border collaboration so that more people will enjoy the treasures from other countries. I see, and I think that's a brilliant idea. And Dr. Montua, I understand there was until last February there was this 3-month exhibition brought by Berggruen. Nearly 100 masterpieces to Beijing in the 798 Art District, which is one of my favorite haunts, as a first stop of a global tour. Why here, and what have been the reactions? What have you learned as a cultural institution in Berlin from the Chinese spectators' ways and reactions?
No, exactly. I mean, even before Beijing, we were even at the UCCA Edge in Shanghai. So it was 2 stops even in China, which was great because also to compare these 2 experiences with a different museum exhibition architecture, right? Both places, people were, as far as I could see and got reactions, were pretty much fascinated by seeing these works for real. Spent a lot of time, every time when I was in the galleries, I saw people really standing, contemplating these works for a long time, right? What we also did was we tried a curatorial concept of putting all the works in chronological order so that they would be on a timeline you would walk by, giving also the context of all these works. I mean, our collection is very centered on the 20th century European art, and it was a very movemented and tormented century with the 2 world wars and everything. So to give this in relation with the artworks, to explain, for example, changes in the way that works suddenly exist. Cubism, for example, when everything splits apart with Picasso and Braque, it's important to know that World War I was just around the corner, right? So it gives you an extra idea, placing artworks also in a broader cultural sense. And since these experiences, at least are very different from every country, I think it's important to move them around and to get the reaction there. Yeah. So yes, we were very fascinated by both these audiences' reactions in Shanghai and Beijing.
Let me follow up with this question, Mr. Montua. Is there one painting that the Chinese are particularly interested in, which you didn't expect, and you try to find out why? Is there such a question that that you discovered, that you found out about?
Yes, we were very much surprised to see also the image that was chosen for the catalog and the poster, being Dora Maar with green fingernails, the 1936 portrait of Picasso, of his partner at the time, who was also an artist in her own right. With being there with her chin on her hand, revealing green painted fingernails and very large eyes, right? Everything in a little bit off-centered composition. And of course, we always knew it was one of our highlight works, I said, but we would not have expected that this would, be such a meet such an expectations as here. I don't know. I realized maybe it was the way that Picasso exaggerated the size of her eyes, making them very, very, very large.
Did you ask? Did you ask the organizer?
Well, no. I mean, the organizer, why they chose it? Yes, I mean, that were all the reasons that they thought that these were good. But I think it might have been something like that, or something appealing to a younger generation, where where it's more like in this cartoon-like or drawn animated style, where you have a lot of big eyes. So maybe this was, I think this was part of the reason, and the audiences liked it.
It's interesting. It's interesting, isn't it, to find out how others view your art, and in a way you learn more about the others and you learn more about yourself. I want to ask, this question to Professor Zheng. Right now, I mean, when I go to a museum, I often have a sense of excitement, but also a little bit frustrated, because a lot of the great artifacts on display, not necessarily artwork, but for instance, a piece of clay pot or porcelain, behind each one of them is a history, is a story, and yet you only have very limited means and space to explain that. So a lot of it just goes gets lost, you know, in the small font or in the 1 or 2 lines of explanation. And the artifacts don't talk. They can't yell for attention. They can't explain themselves. So are there efforts to really make museums alive, especially for the younger ones, for those who otherwise wouldn't be interested in museums, and make it really a fun experience?
Thank you for the question. Actually, what you share is sometimes the real case in China, to be frank. I think actually a very important point for the Chinese museum community nowadays is that we need to move forward toward the public needs. This is a very important target for us now. And that is to say that the core of all museum work is to provide visitors, no matter their age, no matter their gender, no matter their education background, is to offer them with a pleasant, participatory, and also a learning experience. So that's our common target. In fact, I know that this is also the international trend, international experiences now. So currently, museums in China, they are not only chasing the total number, because according to the end of the number, till the end of 2022, we have 65 registered museums in China.
65, so 6,565.
That's it. But that's the number till the end of 2022.
Wow.
But this coming International
It's
Museum
a long
Day,
list I have to go through.
Yeah. But this International Museum Day, we will know the main venue of China will be in Xi'an, the city of Xi'an. We will know the latest number for till the end of last year. So every year, the number will be issued till the International Museum Day. So we have now currently our biggest task is not to chase the total number of museums, but towards the high quality of museums, their development, their advancement. And the situation you mentioned is the real case for many of the museums in China. So what we are doing now, one important route is that we do more visitor studies so that we better know the needs, the characteristics of the audiences, so we can tailor-made our services supply. And I think this is a really good way.
I'm really happy about that. If you want, I can be your experiment. I mean, I can go into I can go into a museum and say, why do you have this here? Why don't you have that there? I can do a pretty good job. But anyway,
actually, welcome more critical thinking audiences.
I'm very good
to
at
offer
that.
us objective opinions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, send me an invitation if you want. I'll be happy to do that. Meanwhile, I can explore the museums for free. Ms. Suppawan, I believe we don't have much time left, but I want to hear the Thai experience. Where are you in terms of making museums more accessible, more interactive, and probably using latest technologies as well? I don't know where you are in terms of virtual reality or digitalization, or some of the things that is unique for Thailand, but not really learned, understood, or shared by other regions in the world.
We thought that maybe the technology will replace our exhibition, our galleries, but it's just like a swap.
It's the opposite. It's the
virtual.
It's
the opposite. It's the opposite. It's not about the negative effect from this one, but it's positive to the museum.
For each of you, what is the biggest challenge you're seeing now, and how do you want to tackle it? Each with less than a minute, please. Ms. Suppawan, with you.
For the heading of the museum in the future, in Thailand, like right now, we don't think about only the new generation. Now in Thailand, we're approaching to the super age society. So it's not only about the exhibition, it's not about how to reach the museum online. Now we have to looking into the universal design. If you visit our museum, you will know that in Thailand, it has a lot of the old building. I mean, the former palace, former house of someone that's really important. This time, we focus on both new generation and the old generation.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it there. Dr. Montua?
Yes, museums have a collection, and the collection is what makes us taking part in research and in public life, right? And that's why I agree with what we've said before, that people will always want to see the original, right? This is a good thing. And we have to build our arguments, unlike other intellectuals or researchers who can just, take any fact from wherever they want. We have to take them from our collection, right? If you're a national museum with a few 100,000 objects, then you're fine. For us, we're smaller. We just have a couple of hundred. This is, of course, more limited. But still, we are experts at museums, and we are trying to build arguments, propositions, narrations around the core of our collection that will engage, and that we hope that will engage with society today and with what will happen today, make it relevant, so that we can stimulate a debate which is more global and also valorize our own collection. This is what distinguishes museums, I think, in terms of research from everything else. Now, the big challenge, of course, is will there still be an interest for our collection, right? For any museum, no matter if it's a history museum, an art museum.
Okay. And how do you plan to tackle it?
Oh, this is something we can only tackle in our small way by trying to make a program that is as attractive and as comprehensive as possible, so that people would come there and also go to other museums, and that museums will be here to stay as part of an actor in the civic society that will stimulate the debate and the cultural debate and shape it and help to participate and engage with audiences.
Professor Zheng, for the Chinese case?
Yeah. I think my headache is that most of the museums, they limit education to educational programming. I think these two are totally different. Although museum educational programming is the biggest part of museum education. So I really appreciate what Smithsonian says. That's the biggest museum complex the world over. It says that everything we do is education. So I think in the near future, if the museum educational work cannot be limited to the education department or educators only. If everybody can shoulder the responsibilities of education, I think it will be better.
Especially don't make going to museums like going to universities. I don't want to go to universities. Again, I want to have fun and learn.
They have similarities, but not the same.
And learn during the process while enjoying art and history. We have to leave it there. Thank you so much. We have been talking to Gabriel Montua, Director of Museum of Berggruen, Suppawan Nongnut, Curator of the Thai National Museum, and Professor Zheng Yi, Director of Fudan University Museum. With that, we come to the end of this special edition of The Point with me, Li Xin. As usual, you can follow me on Facebook and X using the handle Li Xin in Beijing. On behalf of the whole team, thank you for watching. You've got the point.